Hello and welcome to Redcliff Quarter here in the centre of Bristol. My name's Simon Swan, and in this little video I'm going to give you a quick rundown on the archaeology that we've uncovered since the last video that was done a month or so ago. We are continuing to excavate and remove some of the medieval buildings, and we're now getting down to the earlier deposits that were sealed by those buildings, the deposits that were dug into the early floodplain. Behind me, the guys are still working away down here in the southwestern corner of the new development area. We are now in the process of removing some of the earlier walls and finding some really nice artefacts below those, but I'll run through all of that in a little bit. Since the last video, we have excavated, we've finished off excavating the medieval buildings which once fronted Redcliff Street, which is over there to the side of the site which leads up to the city centre to the north. We've also excavated this 19th century iron foundry, which is located just over there to the right of me. And we've also excavated the ditch, the large drainage ditch that was dug in the 12th century that drained the area prior to its development and led again off to the north to the River Avon. The Law ditch, as it's known, nice wide earth cut ditch with then stone walls built on each side to canalise it, and then it was culverted at a later date. So we've excavated that. We're now concentrating really on this red sandstone structure here, probably of mid 14th century or maybe early 14th century date, and was probably a large warehouse or a storehouse rather than a domestic dwelling. We're going to pop down and have a closer look at that in a few minutes, and I'm going to show you exactly what we're excavating and what we're finding there. We're coming very close to the end of this excavation. We've literally only got a week or two left, and what we're going to do in this video is basically look at the artifacts, look at the history of the site, and actually see what we're doing. And then we're going to run through and do basically, we're going to cut the video, so we're going to film it over the next couple of days so we can actually see our excavations progressing through to the final stage of it. So if you want to follow me, we'll pop down onto site now. We're going to have a closer look and see what we found. Right, here we are down in the actual excavation area. I don't know if you can see this from there, but we are down just in this corner here, just next to the southeastern corner of the red building. The red building is, we can see over there, we've got the red sandstone walls. Interestingly, the building itself looks like it's actually been built on some timbers, big horizontal laid timbers, probably because this area was really marshy, and they've been used as a foundation, a rafter, so that the walls can sit on. We've taken apart some of the wall already, and we've actually found pottery embedded within the structure of the wall, which clearly dates it to a late 13th or early 14th century date. This puts it just before the time of the Black Death in the mid 14th century. This building was probably used as a warehouse or a storehouse for goods coming in from the ships that were landing at the wharf, literally 100 yards or so away over there behind me. We're taking the building down, and hopefully we will expose in the next day or two the rest of these timbers down here, and these timbers are big enough that we should be able to get some really good dating out of it. You can actually cut a timber in half and actually count the tree rings and look at the spacing of the tree rings, and that will tell you actually, hopefully, even which season the actual tree was cut down. Not even which year, but which season of a particular year. So hopefully once we get the wall lifted and removed, and we can get these timbers cleaned up, looked at, and we're actually going to have a timber specialist coming down as well to look and assess these timbers. The building itself, the actual red building, has been constructed in a really unusual way, and what we're going to do is we're going to walk around the other side of the site just over there, and I'm going to show you how the actual foundation was built, not just on top of the timbers, but there are other lovely structural designs that really help to understand medieval building practices. So we're going to go and wander around the other side over there, and we'll have a look at it from the other direction. From this angle we can see the actual design of the wall a lot better. The most obvious thing is this archway set with pitch stones. The archway is an integral part of the original structure of this building, The stones are laid like that so they can disperse the weight of the upper stories, solely because when they built this, went across a soft spot. That soft spot is created by this large, big pit just in front of me. This is an earlier cesspit, or at least a pit dug and then filled with cess. It may have been dug for clay extraction for pottery or for levelling the ground in the vicinity, or raising the ground in the vicinity. The cesspit itself probably relates to the buildings, the early buildings from the 12th century that fronted Redcliff Street, and would have been dug out to the rear of those properties. And we've got a number of these cesspits dotted across the whole of this area. When this building, this red sandstone building, was built in the mid or early part of the 14th century, they would have noticed these really not horrible soft spots. So they built this arch across it. But also as well, we have down in that corner continuation of the timbers that I pointed out earlier. I'll just jump down and show you. We can see these large timbers down here, massive great structural timbers laid horizontally, and they extend right the way through, right the way out the back there. At least 3, maybe 4 massive great timbers on which this section of wall was constructed. So what we plan to do over the next couple of days is to take this wall off, take it down by hand, hopefully find some more dating evidence from within the structural wall, and then we'll expose these timbers fully, and we'll be able to get an idea of exactly the size, if they have any workings, how they've been cut, if they've been sawn, if they've been cut down by an axe, and hopefully we'll be able to remove these for further analysis, the dating, the tree ring dating that I was talking about. We will also, once the wall's out, we'll be able to excavate and look at these cesspits in more detail as well, and also take down other deposits and other features, and hopefully find a lot more really nice finds and artefacts. I mean, things like this just came out today, a little bit earlier on. Really nice medieval jug with a lovely handle with some nice decoration on the handle itself. But we've also found lots of other really nice personal items as well. We've found loads more pottery, domestic pottery coming from all over the rest of the UK and abroad as well. We found some really nice pottery with faces on again. We found some really nice carved stones, but also from the cesspits as well. We get all that really nice, well-preserved environmental evidence. We get our timbers, but we also get things like, obviously, the cess itself gives us insight into what people were eating, their diet, their health. But we get other things like snails and insects and even shells, like hazelnut shells, things like that. That gives us just such a much more of a widespread understanding of what was happening, how people were eating, what they were doing on a day-to-day basis. So in the next couple of days, we'll take this down, and hopefully we'll have these timbers exposed and looking really nice and lovely, and we'll come back and have a little look and see what it looks like in a few days' time. Cheers. We've now taken off the stone wall, and we've now exposed these large timbers that we can just see the ends of poking out the other side, and this little bit that we can see underneath the wall. Now the wall is gone, we can reveal these huge great timbers. These timbers would have been laid down flat. There's probably something under here that's nice and soft and squishy, probably another cesspit, something like that. But in the interim period, what we've done now is recorded these timbers, photographed them, surveyed, and what we're going to do is have a look at each individual timber. As you can see, we've got some really massive, almost like branches, straight tree trunk type size bits here with the bark still on. We've got one here, one there, and then another long one in the middle. And we've also got, interestingly, actually some reworked timbers, or some reused timbers. You see the notches in here. This has probably been a joist of a ceiling beam, something like that. And we've got a nice worked plank here with a little ceiling notch in it as well. What we're going to do is take these off, remove them, turn them over, get as much information out of them as well. Something of this size as well is going to be really useful for dating. It doesn't look like it's been reused, so it's not come from a ship or a church or another old building. So we're much more likely to get a date from this, and that will actually give us a date from when the building that these were supporting was actually constructed. These bits of timbers are obviously reused, so they may have been kicking around for 10, 20, 100 years, something like that. But this, with its size and the fact that it's not been reused, looks like a very good candidate for getting some really good dating out of it. So we're going to pull these apart, take them out, and see what more information we can get from them. One of the other things that we've found recently is the remains of this lovely wooden barrel. At the moment we're excavating the material that came out from inside it. We're going to sample this for environmental evidence. We've got some really nice dark, more humic material towards the lower part of it, and we're going to come down up onto that shortly. You can see the upright timbers here forming the barrel, and there should be the base of it lower down. So we'll come back a bit later and see what this reveals. Well, we've now exposed this wooden barrel, and I'm going to pass you over to colleague Simon, who's excavated it wonderfully, to run through a few more details with it.
Thank you. Well, we've now fully revealed the barrel. As you can see, there's no base at the bottom. It's not that we've removed one, there just wasn't one here. And we think that perhaps it's been used for containing a liquid, maybe a dye, because there's been a lot of tanning processes going along generally on this site, and it seems that maybe the clay beneath it was enough to contain the liquid within it. We've also got an inner hoop just here, and there's one on the outside, and there's a nail down here as well, which looks like it's just holding it in. So our next stage is to remove these wooden staves, and then we'll send them off to a specialist, and he's going to find out more about the wood. He's going to date it and possibly find out the origin of where it came from, whether it's local or if it's come from Europe or from Eastern Europe.
We're back down here where we had these large timbers that were revealed after we removed the large red sandstone wall. As you can see, we've already taken one of the large timbers away, and we're going to be looking at that, cleaning that up and looking for tool marks. That large timber, along with the other one down here, looks like it's been cut directly off a tree. Apart from having just its branches trimmed, it's not been reworked or anything like that. So this is likely to have just been cut and placed directly in here in the building built directly above it. The central timber here that you can see in front of us, this is quite interesting. This has actually come from somewhere else, and Rob over there is giving that end a good clean. What have we got there, Rob?
Well, we can see at this end, where it's nice notches, this has been a structural timber from a building. It's been an upright timber, standing on the base of that end, this end up in the roof, carrying a cross beam in this notch here. So what we're going to do now, get this all nicely cleaned up, recorded, photographed, then we'll lift it out, retain it, and take it back to the office to be looked at by specialists for more analysis.
Excellent, thanks. So what we can see is that even though we've still got plenty of work left to do, we are coming very much to the end of our excavations. So we've been here for best part of 10 months now. The site is still revealing pleasant surprises, but once we've got these lifted, there's a few little bits to do. We'll finish off with the barrel that you saw earlier, and then pretty much that will be it for our on-site excavations. There will then be plenty of work back in the office with specialists looking at all the finds, all the environmental evidence, the timbers that we have here, and everything will be collated, and over time it will all come together and we'll have a really nice report that won't just tell us information about what happened on this site, but how it relates to the rest of Bristol. And obviously with things like the barrels and other finds like that are coming in from all across Europe and maybe even further afield, it tells us the story of how Redcliff fitted within Bristol, and then how Bristol fitted within the rest of the United Kingdom, and also how the United Kingdom fitted in with the surrounding world around it, with trade and everything that went on. So we'll get a really nice, big, long story of the history of this area.